Boiled flamingo tongue, heel of camel, and 12-hour feasts with orgies between each course. Today on What They Ate, we dive into the wild eating habits of Roman emperors, a group of gentlemen who took a lavish living to new heights. From Nero's dastardly fetishes to Caesar's royal palate, the favorite foods and diets of Rome's emperors are sure to give you a craving for the finer things, or totally gross you out. So buckle up as we dive into part 1 of the most bizarre and lavish diets of Roman emperors. As dusk settles over ancient Rome and the shadows lengthen over the Parthenon, the early evening quiet is shattered by a chorus of piercing screams. Well, no need to be alarmed. This is just the beginning of another of Emperor Nero's infamous orgy feasts. Only the most exotic and eyebrow-raising dishes could satisfy Nero's notorious taste. Cue the braised pork genitals and pheasant tongue. One of history's most bloody tyrants, Nero was the epitome of decadence and violence. Nero would hold 12-hour banquets punctuated with orgies between each course. These feasts would be held at his magnificent Golden House Palace, which was described by Roman historian Suntius as dining rooms with ceilings of fretted ivory, the panels of which could slide back and let a rain of flowers or of perfume from hidden sprinklers fall on his guests. Fancy stuff. The chief banqueting hall was circular and rotated perpetually night and day, in imitation of the motion of the celestial bodies. This rotating dining room is where Nero would stage these infamous feasts. Guests would dine on the most extraordinary delicacies, occasionally vomiting into special bowls to allow them to continue to gorge on the most fancy food the empire had to offer. Disgusting. The delicacies included peacock, swan, stuffed sow's womb, that's the udder of a female pig, sculpted fowls that were actually made of pork genitals, and a roasted dormice. What's dormice, you asked? Well, don't say I didn't warn you. Dormice is a mouse species known as the edible dormouse, and they were the unexpected gourmet hit of ancient Roman cuisine. This small rodent prized not just for its delightful taste, but also as a nifty little status symbol, made the rounds in high society dining circles. Romans, ever the connoisseurs of the unusual, decided that these fuzzy critters weren't just adorable, they were dinner plate worthy, embarking on an eccentric venture of exotic animal farming tailored for the elite's bellies and bragging rights. The quirky practice of dormouse farming involves a gleraria, which was essentially a luxurious rodent condo made of terracotta, complete with branches and a buffet of nuts and fruits to keep the dormice plump and unwittingly ready for the pot. Once fattened, these pampered pests were cooked up in a myriad of posh ways, stuffed with pork mince, spiced just right, roasted to perfection, or for the sweet-toothed Roman, glazed in honey and poppy seeds. Post-Roman Empire, the dormouse dish mostly disappeared from menus, perhaps for the best, leaving us to ponder the complex and oddball habits of ancient Roman society. So, back to Nero. To keep the party going, the bisexual Nero invited male and female prostitutes to mingle with his guests. One of his favorite party tricks was to dress up in the skin of a wild animal and have himself imprisoned in a cage while helpless young men and women were tethered to posts in front of them. I don't even know what I'm reading anymore. This is ridiculous. Nero's skinny, sickly legs held up a huge belly, which he would fill at these 12-hour-long feasts. He dined as Romans did, reclining or laying flat on his stomach, the preferred feeding position of the Roman elite. He would have expected food at the height of fashion. Anything less was life-threatening for the chef. Nero was also known to eat a quart of leeks a day. He believed in their power to help improve his singing voice. History claims that while Nero is often referred to as the emperor who fiddled while Rome burned, it is more likely that he was singing. Nero appears to have derived much of his deadly ambition from his wealthy widowed mother, Agrippina. Her first husband, Nero's father, died of natural causes, but she is widely suspected of murdering her second. In her third marriage to Emperor Claudius in AD 49, Agrippa manipulated him into adopting Nero as his heir, although he already had a son, Britannicus, by another wife. She then had Claudius killed with poisoned mushrooms, clearing the way for her son to inherit the empire in AD 54. Then, just 16, Nero was described as being of average height with a prominent belly and a spotty complexion. Less than 6 months into his reign, Nero suspected a plot to replace him with Britannicus. He followed his mother's example and killed his 15-year-old stepbrother with poisoned mushrooms yet again. You can't make this stuff up. On June 9th, AD 68, upon discovering that he had been declared a public enemy by the Senate, the Emperor Nero committed suicide, being the first emperor to do so. He took 2 daggers and tested their blades before declaring them to be unsuitable for killing himself with. Finally, with the help of one of his freedmen, Nero drove a knife through his own neck, and as a guard burst in and attempted to stop the bleeding, the emperor uttered his last words, "Too late," and this is loyalty. Nero was the last member of the Julio-Claudian dynasty, and had reigned for 13 years, 7 months, and 25 days. Ah, Vitellius. Born in AD 14, and according to scandalous gossip, spent his youth on Capri as one of Tiberius's young male prostitutes, he became a fixture in the courts of Gaius and Nero. He was known for his love of gambling and other vices. Vitellius was infamously regarded as the most gluttonous emperor in Roman history, and for his short 8-month reign as the third and final successor to Nero in that year of AD 69. Yes, that's right, Nero had 3 successors in a single year. One thing we know about Vitellius: the man loved his flamingo tongue. Boiled, braised, fire-grilled, you name it. While many different kinds of food items were valued in ancient Roman cuisine, flamingos, especially their tongues, were one of the most sought-after delicacies in ancient Rome. It was believed to be an aphrodisiac and boost the immune system. The birds themselves are also considered a symbol of wealth and royalty. In the Apicius, a collection of Roman cookery recipes thought to have been compiled in the 5th century AD, it is said that the tongue of the flamingo is of the most exquisite flavor. Suetonius, Roman biographer and historian, also mentions flamingo tongues in his Life of Vitellius. The most notorious flamingo dinner was given by Vitellius's brother to celebrate the emperor's arrival in Rome, at which 2,000 of the choicest fishes and 7,000 birds are said to have been served. Vitellius mingled the livers of pike, the brains of pheasants and peacocks, and the tongues of flamingos with the milt of lampreys, brought by his captains and triremes from the whole empire, from Parthia to the Spanish Strait. Vitellius was executed in Rome on the 20th of December in the year 69. Once he realized his support was wavering, Vitellius prepared to abdicate in favor of Vespasian. He was not allowed to do so by his supporters, resulting in a brutal battle for Rome between Vitellius's forces and the armies of Vespasian's, leading to a notably brutal execution with a beheading followed by having his head paraded around Rome on a stake. Ned Stark style. These emperors sure had a flair for the dramatic. First and most esteemed of Roman emperors, Caesar Augustus was not just a conqueror of lands but also a passionate devotee of asparagus. His fondness for this slender veggie was so intense that he reportedly sent military expeditions out into the wild just to track it down. Once found, this prized asparagus wasn't left to the whims of nature. Oh no, it was whisked away to the Alps where it could be preserved in cool, regal tranquility. Now, don't get the wrong idea. Augustus wasn't the first to put asparagus on the map. Agricultural history reveals that the cultivation of asparagus was old news, already 100 years in the running by the time Augustus donned his laurel. Even the walls of Pompeii flaunted paintings of asparagus bundles, and across the channel in Cambridge, England, archaeologists unearthed an ancient asparagus bed, proving this vegetable's vaunted status across the ancient globe. But the real kicker comes from Augustus himself, who is known to use asparagus as a metaphor for speed. On a particularly grim occasion, right before an execution, he famously quipped that it was going to happen faster than cooking asparagus. Translating for a 1936 edition of the Apicius, we find how to cook asparagus fit for an emperor. The bunch of asparagus should stand upright in the vat of boiling water so that the stalks are submerged and the heads stick out just enough for the steam to cook them. That, at least, would certainly lead to a more al dente style fit for Augustus. His great uncle, however, Julius Caesar, was known to have a preference for his asparagus luxuriously drenched in melted butter. Augustus was said to have been a fan of roasted boar and sweetened wine as well. But let's take a look at one more vegetable. During the bout of grave illness, when more formal medications failed, Augustus Caesar believed himself cured by a diet of lettuce. Yes, lettuce. The royal physician Musa put Augustus on a diet of lettuce, and the emperor recovered from the precipice of death. For his great service, Musa received not only a large sum of money, but permission to wear a gold ring, a privilege usually reserved only for aristocrats. Following his miraculous recovery, Augustus is said to have erected a statue in honor of this medicinal veggie. Craving more culinary history? Don't forget to like and subscribe to join us on part 2 of our journey into the crazy diets of Roman emperors. Because remember, everyone needs to eat.